So I understand what John Wayne went through in the last
Years
year.
of his life struggle financially, his body can get out of leg, his body has to keep up appearances, despite his breathing problems.
Reports show that during filming, John Wayne had a lung infection that could have been the cause of his cough and breathing difficulties. I can see here, he completely recovered. Records show that some 12 years earlier, he had suffered a far more serious illness. In 1964, John Wayne had lung cancer, which required an operation to remove the tumor. Surgeons made a 28-inch incision on his chest and removed a large blood mass along the entire upper lobe of the left lung. The surgery was a success, but it left Wayne with only one fully functioning lung.
The painful memories of this battle are echoed in the scene in The Shootist.
John, where are books? Do you remember?
When John Wayne's character receives bad news from the town doctor, James Stewart.
You have a cancer. Advance.
When James Stewart was talking to him about the only cure being to cut him like a fish, you can see the fear in the eyes of his tree. That's pretty much what happened.
Although having had cancer once before could have increased Wayne's chance of developing a second cancer in the stomach, recent studies suggest that probability is quite small. What is more probable is that both cancers were caused by a very bad habit that he had, and it might also explain why his battle with the deadly disease was so short-lived.
On June 11, 1979, John Wayne died in a Los Angeles hospital at the age of 72. Now, world-renowned medical examiner and forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Hunter is investigating the death of America's most beloved cowboy.
The cause of John Wayne's death is recorded as respiratory arrest due to stomach cancer. So far, I've discovered that he had already beaten cancer once in 1964, and it left him with only one fully functioning lung. Now, looking at his lifestyle, I don't think too for a potential cause of this fatal
February 1976, Warner Brothers Studios, Burbank, California. It's just over 3 years until John Wayne's death. After another tough day filming the shoots, he unwinds with the crew.
Lifting on after a hard day of set is definitely part of the lifestyle.
It was always part of his life.
Wayne loved whiskey, wine, and beer. And he had another favorite drink.
Tequila, Comemorativa was a very expensive brand of tequila.
Drinking was part of John Wayne's on-screen interview. The rugged westerner liked a shot at the hard stuff, but he was never an alcoholic. Work was his priority.
I've seen him where he's had a few drinks, but he's there the next day, and he's clean as a bear.
I never saw him drunk. I never saw him nasty or bad attitude because of drinking.
Since the release of the classic western Stagecoach, John Wayne was owned by the studios and his mother. His billing as America's He-Man showed no signs of letting up.
John Wayne's tough guy image was a persona that he developed. Underneath, he was very intelligent, graceful, and easily hurt.
I've probably been a lot softer than I should be. And a lot tougher on some things.
The identity he's so trying to lock to is one of this hyper-masculine macho guy who doesn't get sick, is always strong, always in the right. That's a huge
I gotta see that.
Wayne's
One
lucky
good
role
one,
was
never
as
seen it.
he moved from westerns to war. Most notably in Sands of Iwo Jima, which was nominated for an Academy Award.
John Wayne, he didn't do very much. He was good.
But playing then in uniform was not not straightforward for John Wayne. He had not served in the military during World War II, staying home with his children while other scholars like James Stewart and Ronald Reagan enlisted.
He felt he was put in a role of a hero, and he never served. He could never justify that to himself.
It was just such a profound incongruence with what he was supposed to be and what he was actually doing. That never sat well with John.
As the pressure of keeping up the tough guy act became increasingly hard, drinking became a problem in many ways.
Basically, it gives you a sense of security, whether it's escaping or whether it's that situation holding in the class. And it was expected of him, right? So it was, it was one of those indicators of the brand. John Wayne had a cigarette, had marijuana, and the rest of his content.
From first-hand accounts, it's clear that John Wayne consumed alcohol for 72 years. Consuming more than 4 alcoholic drinks in a day increases the risk of developing stomach cancer.
Okay,
And
come on,
Wayne's
Ernst.
social drinking did exactly that. On top of the drinking, I can see that Wayne had another toxic life that was also an essential part of his tough guy persona.
March 1966, Warner Brothers Studios, Burbank, California. It's just over 3 years before John Wayne's death. He's enjoying a cigarette on the set of The Shootist.
He was his usual optimistic self. Even if he didn't feel great slogging on, it was a hard shoot for him due to the breathing problems he had.
He'd already had one lung removed because he smoked 5 packs of cigarettes every day.
For over 40 years, John Wayne had been a heavy smoker, consuming tobacco from cigars and cigarettes.
His daughter Ailisa said he only ever lit one match, and that was the first match of the morning. After that, each cigarette was lit off the one before until he went to bed.
Studio executives took advantage of this chain-smoking macho portrayal of the American dream, and Wayne was happy to play along.
I know, I've been one of them for 20 years.
He was certainly the biggest, truly American icon to ever rise up out of the entertainment world, in the sense of what he represented, what he portrayed. His love of the West, themes that other people would think are goofy, he loved, and that's pretty unique.
Wayne became synonymous with the Western. Smoking was the perfect fit.
You gotta remember, John Wayne with a cigarette in his mouth is happening around the same time that you have kind of the Marlboro ban, right? This idea of what cigarettes back then represented. And John Wayne very easily sort of adopted the cigarette because it fitted so nicely to the brand that he was trying to create.
By 1964, John Wayne had been smoking for over 40 years. Now, surgical reports show that the lung it removed had none of the pink sponge-like texture we expect in a healthy lung.
By 1964, the dangers of his habit were now obvious to John Wayne. But within a year, he had succumbed to his addiction once again, while he was married to his third wife, Pilar Palette.
John Wayne's wife told me that his smoking was a lifelong battle, a real addiction. She said they had actually a giant built-in ashtray in their bed. And she said after he lost his lung, he did not smoke anymore. And for a period of weeks, he didn't. When he started again, it was probably the only thing he never lit.
By the time John Wayne ignored the doctor's advice to give up smoking, he had already smoked up to 6 packs a day for over 40 years. His lungs had been wrecked by over 1 million cigarettes.
Tobacco smoke is a toxic mix of more than 7,000 chemicals, of which a striking 70 of those chemicals are now known to cause cancer. These poisons can damage or change the cell's DNA to control the cell's normal growth. When DNA is damaged, the cell can begin growing out of control. creating a cancerous tumor. Smoking would not only have increased his chances of developing both his lung and stomach cancer, it also contributed to his inability to successfully fight back against the disease in the last 5 months of his life. The combination of smoking and drinking also put pressure on a cardiovascular system already struggling with just one lung. And 2 years before his death, I can see that this results in a devastating development.
World-renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Hunter is investigating the death of American film legend John Wayne.
A lifetime of heavy smoking and drinking dramatically increased John Wayne's chances of developing cancer. He lost part of a lung in 1964, and 15 years later, it took his life after an unusually brief fight. I want to know why he lost the battle so soon. Smoking and drinking can also cause serious cardiovascular issues. We need to find out if John Wayne had any heart problems that may have contributed to his inability to fight back.
March 1976, Warner Brothers Studios, Burbank, California. It's just over 3 years before John Wayne's death, and his film The Shootist is close to wrapping. Deteriorating health means he's not the hard man he once was.
He did have a lot of downtime on the sets, and I think people could tell without being told explicitly that he was not well at that stage.
I'm sure he was sick a lot of times and nobody knew it. But John Wayne, that's the way he was. Duke was a man's man. Never heard him complain.
The 68-year-old actor is now a shadow of his former self.
Reports show that during 1976, John Wayne was feeling tired, struggling with breath, and gaining weight. And these are all classic symptoms of the onset of cardiovascular problems. Heart specialists were already concerned enough to prescribe him drugs normally used to treat congestive heart failure. This is when fluid builds up around the heart and causes it to pump inefficiently. The drugs he was prescribed should have improved the strength of John Wayne's heartbeat and increased blood circulation throughout his body.
On the set of The Shooting, John Wayne will not let his heart problems impact on his performance, making sure his final on-scene death is dignified for all of his fans.
I feel like goddamn sure.
He'd spent the last 50 years of his life really living in a fishbowl. He had been owned by the public, and he was